Hello and welcome to the Business Growth Accelerator, the very first episode of 2024. And I'm super excited to have my dual guest here today, Mr. Mike Schmidt and AJ Rivera from Agency Coach. I've had the pleasure of interacting with Mike and AJ over the past couple years, from meeting up at Funnel Hacking Live back in 2021 to going through a couple of their own programs for agency growth and building those out. And now I have the opportunity to pick their brain a little bit and figure out what it takes to build the agency of your dream. Mike, AJ, welcome to the show.
Awesome. Brandon, thanks for having us, man. Excited to be here after all this time.
Yeah, this is awesome. Appreciate you having us on here.
Absolutely. So, Mike, AJ, let's let the audience know a little bit about yourself. I think there was a big milestone that happened from your core agency. What's going on there?
Yeah, so started in 2003 here in Tucson, Arizona. So we've just celebrated our 21st birthday. We had all intentions of throwing a 20th anniversary party, but we're just going too fast. So we decided we'll have a 21st birthday party and really ring it in. So we're really proud of that. Today, that agency runs without AJ and my daily involvement, which is also a huge milestone for us. It's run by our amazing leadership team. And, there's a lot of things you can do that people choose to do when they're not working in day-to-day in their business. Some people like pick up golf. All right. Some people, pick up some other hobby. But AJ and I were crazy enough to take the digital marketing agency owner hat off and put on the digital agency mentorship and coach hat on, where today we get to help businesses who provide digital marketing services emulate many of the things that we've done in our businesses, so that way they can have some of the same kind of time and financial freedom that our businesses have afforded us. So, yeah.
Gotcha. 2023 is quite a long time. I think I was a junior in high school, just about to graduate. Actually, no, I was going into senior year. So yeah. I don't mean to age you guys, but
mission accomplished.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
you guys aren't.
I think it's like, when it comes to digital marketing or computers in general, like, you can certainly call us the old dogs for sure. Like, we remember a time before there was YouTube and Facebook. When the agency started. What was the top search engine back then, AJ?
Yahoo. Yeah. Yahoo, right?
Something like that, right?
Yahoo and Ask Jeeves.
Yeah.
Right, totally. Yeah, Ask Jeeves, Alta Vista, all those things, right? So, like, it's fair, Brandon. We are the old dudes when it comes to this stuff. Right now, I'm still just trying to figure out TikTok and all that stuff. So.
You and me both, brother. I can't get past the 250 view mark myself, and I don't know. They put up these paywalls and all this stuff now that the free organic is done, and now you got to start paying to play. So they suck you in, and then they make you pay for it. So what made you get started in the agency space?
Yeah. So 2003, I'm graduating from the University of Arizona. I'm a California kid that moved to Arizona to go to school, but at the time I was dating a girl who became my wife. I was playing in a ska punk band, as I'm a trombone player, and I was like, that's the coolest thing you can do as a trombone player, is play in a ska band. Knowing that I didn't want to leave the band or my girlfriend, and having the background of a web designer, in 2003, the prospects for a job in Tucson, Arizona as a web designer weren't very good. So if I wanted to remain doing something that I was excited and passionate about, my only avenue was to create a business doing it myself. And so, that's what I did, attending networking meetings at the advice of my dad, in 2000.
Mhm.
And he came on originally as a team member to help with sales. We can get into that story for sure. And fast forward, a number of years later, when we decided to make our partnership official. So,
Mhm. And AJ, you had a pretty interesting backstory. You came out of the corporate world, right? You were actually in what, tax software at the time?
Yeah, I actually worked doing technical support for QuickBooks. And so a lot of
Okay.
agencies probably use QuickBooks whenever there's like an issue with it or something don't know how to do, and you call it up. I was the guy on the other end that was answering the phone. So I spent about 10 years in that corporate environment, kind of climbing up the corporate ladder. And, the further up I got, the more I felt just out of touch with like how what I was doing was related to the big picture of things, right? I felt like a really small cog in this huge machine. And I just wanted to work more closely with the people that I was impacting. And so the idea of, working in digital marketing and working with small business owners and getting to work directly with them and seeing the excitement and, the thanks and praise that we get for transforming their business was appealing to me. And so made the jump over, and haven't looked back. Definitely one of the best decisions that I've ever made.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, I've felt the same way the past couple of years. I wouldn't say struggling, but just trying to find that way out of the corporate rat race. Not that I don't mind working in sales capacity at some level, but I definitely like to sell the products that I want to sell and I take it on my own schedule than worrying about punching time clock and being held accountable to somebody else, if that makes total sense. So,
100%.
Mike, you started off on your own. When did you realize that you needed a right-hand man, so to speak, to get things really going? Did you hear my question, Mike?
no.
Okay, no problem at all. No problem at all. I was asking.
30 seconds of the last whatever.
No worries at all. I was asking. So you started off as a solopreneur, building websites. When did you realize that you needed a right-hand man to really get things going and off the ground?
Yeah. So I think a lot of businesses face this, right? They if they have any measure of success, especially if it's somebody who's like starting up their own thing, they reach this moment where they're having to choose between like doing the work of the business versus like working on the business. They're having to make choices about whether or not they're marketing and selling and growing the business, or they're providing the work of the business. And that was me for a long time. What this is the feast or famine business cycle, where there's
Mhm.
periods of time where you're getting lots of cash, it's coming in, and then because you're doing the work, right? You finish the work, and then once the work's done, you're like, well, where's the cash now? Well, cash dried up because you stopped marketing yourself, dummy. That's how that works. And so it took me a couple cycles of that, more than I care to admit, to realize that I was going to always face that I was always going to give up on doing the marketing as long as I was doing the work. And so any successful business has to keep on marketing themselves. It always has to be turned on. It always has to be running. Otherwise you will stop growing and stunt your growth. And so I was working with a business coach at the time, and he said to me, Mike, he's like, you could sell the work. You're selling the work and you're doing the work. He's like, have you considered which one you should really be focused in on and which one you might want to give up? And like, I'll tell you what, I didn't get into business to sell. Like that was like the side effect. That was like the thing that I had to do if I wanted to deliver the work. And my heart was in doing the work. Like I got in this because I love building websites and I love marketing and I love like helping people and businesses create that in their businesses. But I kind of knew what he was getting at. It's like I had to choose one. And the thing is that I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that if I were to hire someone to do the work, like I could keep an eye, out of the corner of my eye, I could watch them know that they were doing their job or not, right? Because I knew the production side so well, but the thing I didn't know so well was sales. Like, I didn't know how to hire a salesperson that could come in and sell for me. I was just kind of winging it. And to get my business coach to the end, because I was like, I feel like I should probably hold on to sales and hire someone to do the work. And he's like, yeah, Mike, that's probably what I'm thinking too. And so that's what I did. Is I held on to the sales responsibilities, and I found someone to come in to help with project management and doing the day-to-day. I was glad I did, because it was true. I could keep my eye on this person and know whether or not they were doing their work, and I could jump in and help if I needed to. And what that did is that allowed me to then focus in on doing this sales activity, which, like I said before, I wasn't born a salesperson, but I was figuring it out. And what I came to learn is that I actually really enjoyed sales, but the reason I didn't like it is because I didn't know how to do it. And so it was probably a good 3 or 4 years in the business doing it all myself before I had that realization. It was like, I need more than just me. And truthfully, I needed that probably a year and a half into the business, but I really went through that feast or famine cycle for far too long before I admitted to myself. And so the advice that I got from this coach about identifying that was one piece, but the other part was because I had a huge fear of hiring someone else in my business, because up until then it was just me. It's like, if I didn't make any money, well, I didn't get paid. Else, and we didn't make any money, well, then now it's not just me on there. And so I had to work through how that was going to work, and worked out.
Yeah. AJ, how did you feel about that, coming on board with that thought of, if I don't sell, I don't eat mentality of being Mike's right hand man and working on the background there?
There's definitely a lot of pressure with that, but I will tell you that Mike kind of tricked me into taking a sales position. So when I was working at Intuit, I just saw an ad for what he called a web strategist, right? And it was all about just providing people with strategy on their website. And at the time, I had kind of, again, moved out of tech support in QuickBooks, and I was managing the online communities for like QuickBooks, TurboTax, and Quicken, and learned a lot about digital marketing and web strategy. And I'm like, geez, I could give people advice on that all day, right? And so I applied for it. Come to find that really what it was meeting with clients that he had already sold to, providing them with recommendations or where I saw that there was gaps or things that they could be doing different, and then proposing that we do those things, right? Which is sales, right? Like when it's a consultative sales approach. And I just think at the time, my mindset about what sales was like being super sleazy and trying to trick somebody into doing something and being really pushy about them taking action. And so, the way that we were selling was much different than that. And, it's what we teach now is that, we shouldn't really be doing sales at all, right? Like, we're just educating clients on what's important. We're evaluating their situation, and then we're providing recommendations on how we think they can help, right? And so the process is what does the selling. And so that was a big breakthrough that Mike and I had. We kind of like intuitively were doing that in our head for a really long time, and it wasn't until we like broke down that process into a repeatable set of steps that anybody could follow that we started realizing that we could hire a team under us to handle some of the sales and do those things as well. And then, of course, we've gone on to teach lots and lots of agency owners around the world to use that same approach. So I'm glad that Mike tricked me. It all worked out in the end. I don't have anything against sales anymore. I think sales is amazing. I think sales is service. You don't have a business if you don't have sales that are going on. And so I pride myself on being able to tackle that. But yeah, I think the other side of your question was just the pressure around that. Yeah, 100%. I mean, there were times in the agency where, payroll was coming and something needed to close, right? And sometimes, selling websites or other digital marketing, it's a longer sales process, right? There's not something that you can do to like immediately push that over the edge. And that led to another big breakthrough for Mike and I, which was realizing that recurring revenue was the key and eliminating all that pressure, right? Because for a long, long time, I was out there hunting big whales. I was out there trying to sell these, huge websites that was going to put a lot of cash in our pocket, but do it that one time. And guess what? Then you got to go find another one. Then you got to go find another one. Then you got to go find another one, right? And so we started realizing that, you know, when we ran a report for like our top customers over like the past few years, the ones that were at the top were the people that were paying us monthly during that whole time. You know, the $1,000 a month, the $1,500 a month. It wasn't the $100,000 website that I sold. They were barely in the top 20. You know, so that was really key in relieving some of that pressure and relieving some of that stress, because once we realized that, we put all our focus on building recurring revenue, and then I can go into a month not worried about payroll. Payroll's covered, expenses are covered. We're putting money in our pocket. I don't need another new sale in order to make that happen. And once we did that, that's what started really giving us the confidence to be able to eventually step out of the agency and know that it was going to be stable and continue to grow.
Nice. Yeah, that was actually going to be in my kind of a follow-up question to that, and you led right into it. That reoccurring revenue is such a key factor to any business that's out there. We all three follow, the same. I don't know if I want to call him a guru, but Russell Brunson, and he preaches that without reoccurring revenue, you don't have a business, as well as not having a list, you don't have a business. But those two things combined gives you, pretty much a super business, and you can weather all the storms that are coming your way. So speaking of storms, we had a pretty big one a couple years ago that kind of shook up every industry as a whole, especially in the marketing space. A lot of people pulled back. How did you guys manage to get through that deal and then move into what you're really getting into now, and that's coaching and teaching other up-and-coming agency owners?
Yeah, I'm not going to scared at first, right? I think like a lot of people were. We had our clients calling us up and saying, "Hey guys, the way the world is headed right now, but sure, it seems like the right thing to do is just maybe slow down and pause and like reevaluate." So we were nervous going into the pandemic that things were going to drastically change for us. But I'll tell you, it really turned into one of the best opportunities for us. And I'll tell you what, I think that opportunity still exists for agencies out there if they're willing to understand the lessons that we learned from that period of time. But our business was reliant on in-person, face-to-face, reach across the table, shake your hand, especially for our local clients here in Arizona. And that was ripped away from us overnight. The networking events that we went to, gone overnight. And so, we were pretty nervous at first about what we were actually going to do, what we were going to make happen. And we had our knee-jerk reaction was to have our sales team just start cold calling. Now, I love sales, as I mentioned before, and AJ just, but cold calling is not on the list of things that I personally feel compelled to do ever. You were just like, you're here. Let's just do something. So we had a guy on our team, Tom, brilliant dude, call pool companies, A to Z, right? We're in Arizona. It was, moving into summer. We thought maybe that would be what we want to talk to us about. So he calls a couple people, eventually gets through to one company, and they pick up the phone and they hear his and they cut him off and they said, "Don't you know what's going on in the world right now? How could you call at a time like this?" Click. And right? It's like, thankfully Tom has got thick skin. He's not heard no in his lifetime. And so he keeps dialing, does another couple calls in. He gets another company, same industry, down the street even from the first one. And here's what they say. They say, "Oh my, calling. Like, you have no idea. We were just talking about this. We need to find somebody that can help us with this and this and this. I'm so glad that we'd love to chat with you about this." Right. And so same industry, same town, same day. And you have one owner that's like, the sky is falling. Look at this opportunity. And it comes down to abundance, right? One owner had abundance mindset and saw, okay, there's opportunity for do this. And the other one's like, falling apart and
everything's going away.
Right. That particular contract for us that year, and we also turned that into lots of recurring revenue and built a great relationship with them. Realize this is just not the way to. We're not going to do cold calling, because how many more calls do we have to make to have to repeat that process again? And what we decided to do is took that lesson. The lesson was that there are people out there right now that believe that there's an opportunity for them, right? How do we find those people? And so with that belief that there are those people out there that believe that right now, what we did is we launched a webinar where we basically just started teaching some digital marketing, saying, hey, here's why now is actually a really good time to market yourselves. And, fast forward, we ended up turning that with our own agency into, within that next week, I think 38 book calls, right? Like it was nothing, and that turned into hundreds of thousands of recurring revenue or businesses that we were able to help, simply because we changed our belief that there was people out there that were abundant. Right. And so it was a huge aha for us, because at that point, like, we were no strangers to selling high ticket recurring revenue, right? Like, we mastered that. We know how to do that beyond a shadow of doubt. And we teach that process to the agency students we work with day in and day out now. Like that, it just works, right? Missing. And the blessing that we had during the pandemic was how to a group of people and get them to raise their hand asking us for help. When somebody raises their hand and says, Brandon, can you help me with this thing? That's way easier than if you're having to like reach around them, grab them by the neck and be like, hey, I can help you with this thing. That's a different attitude and different mindset. And it falls in line with what AJ was saying before about consultative sales. When somebody wants to be consulted with, well, guess what? They're way easier to enroll in your services. And so what we learned in the pandemic was how to get people to voluntarily say, right. And that changed everything. That changed everything for our agency, especially during those years. And it's also changed our outlook of how we actually teach agencies to get folks to raise their hand now, which is one of the funnest things we get to do.
Yeah, the coolest part about that story and what we did there was just the title of the webinar. It was how to attract and activate local businesses who still want your services, even in an uncertain market, right? So like the people that were doom and gloom, the scarcity-based thinkers, they're like going to read that title and be like, these guys are idiots. These guys are crazy. I'm not going to go to that webinar. Nobody wants any services right now, right? But guess what? The people that did think that there was an opportunity, the people that didn't want to go down without a fight, that were going to try to invest in their business and try to get through this, those are the ones that came, and those are the ones that wanted to help. So it just became a really effective way for us to quickly find all those people, right? And cast a wide net and just catch those people that we knew were still looking for our help. And what was cool about that is once we figured that out for ourselves, and once we generated all those leads for ourselves, position to then teach that to all the students that are in our community. And man, I'll tell you what, people were loving that, because everybody was worried. Everybody was uncertain. All the people were not sure about what they were going to do. And that webinar really, I think, saved a lot of agencies because it kept them afloat with leads throughout that entire time. And most of them are still using that very same webinar today, right? And you could still use that with the same title because it's another uncertain market, right? And there's always going to be an uncertain market. And the point is that it's going to attract the right world. I remember there's a guy on our team, John, who ran into another agency owner that's in Tucson during that time, and he was like, man, this sucks, right? Like everybody canceled and nobody wants to meet, and I haven't made any money in the past 3 months. And Mike and I are like, our stuff's going through the roof, right? Because we had a different view on everything. And I'm not sure that he made it through. I think they may have gone out of business because he chose to sit there and basically bleed out and not do anything, instead of taking the abundance-minded approach and saying, hey, there are people that out there that want my help. I'm going to go find them and I'm going to help them, right?
Yeah, I think with anything in life, it's always 90-10, 90% mindset, 10% do. The whole professional and self-development deal has been around since literally Christ left Bethlehem. And those that have been positive through the toughest times usually wind up better off in the end.
Mhm.
So that's absolutely phenomenal that you guys made it. We're able to make it through and continue to grow and grow what you are growing now. And in the world that you're growing it in, as I mentioned at the beginning of the episode here, I met you guys at Funnel Hacking Live 2021 after, I bought the initial lead magnet course from you for the 8 steps to get more leads from Google for free.
Right.
It's helped me out, and I built a small list off that particular lead magnet myself, so it does work. And how did you get into that world and then start using ClickFunnels to what you're doing now?
Yeah, so I remember a long time ago when funnels were just coming out, right? There was kind of this new term, this new thing, and we had seen like Ryan Dice release this like graphic of this funnel, and it just looked really cool with like the upsells and downsells, and we're like, it's supposed to be this automated sales machine that just like spits out money once you set it up, right? And we're reading this like, this is it. This is like what we've been looking for. We have the skill set to pull this off. So we went to an event that he was having, Traffic and Conversion Summit in San Diego, to learn all about that. And we ended up buying everything he had. He had like 2 offers, one of which was like these funnels that you could copy and basically sell to people that you were doing digital marketing for. And then another one where if you wanted his help to personally hold your hand through building a funnel, he would do that. And so it was at that event that we saw Russell Brunson speak. And he looked like he was like 12 years old. He was up there in sandals. We're like, who the heck is this guy, right? And I remember he's just like blowing our mind with that's when he was doing his like, how I make $18,000 a day with this one thing. And like, so we got like the CD he was handing out, or DVD, and we took it back to our Airbnb that night. And I remember we signed up for ClickFunnels. And what we didn't realize, like, it looked pretty polished. I guess it was still in beta, and it was like, had only been like a month old. It had been released like the month before. And so we were super early adopters of that. And, from there, he sent out an email saying he was having an event in Phoenix and Vegas. And like, followers ever since, members of his inner circle for 7-8 years, and has been a part of really a lot of things that he's doing, and eventually have gone on to become business partners with him and create courses and stuff together. So it's been an incredible journey making that connection from that first meeting with the guy in sandals on stage.
And so the main product that I know you guys for is the Funnel Hub guys, right? And then the presentation that you gave that I saw, I know you gave the presentation twice, 2 years in a row, was the shadow funnel. And I thought that was probably one of the more powerful presentations behind any of the other presentations there, because as you mentioned, if you can't be found, you can't get any business. So how are you using that methodology in your own coaching and proliferating that out to your students?
Yeah. So for those that are watching, just to kind of fill those in that don't know, the funnel we developed, sitting in the rooms with Russell Brunson and other marketers in his inner circle, realized is many times when we would go to look at other people in these like high-end marketing rooms, we couldn't find anything about them, right? The very first inner circle meeting we went to back in, I think, early 2016, we got to the meeting way too early. We were sitting there in the room that they already set up the night before with everybody's name cards everywhere. So we did what a lot of people with an internet connection and some idle time probably would have done, which is I started Googling people's names, right? And what we found was, many cases, nothing for these people. Other cases, we found competitors. We might have found like pieces of their funnel, or we found something that they used to do. Like this person is now a real estate coach, but they used to be a fitness instructor or something like that. And it was just kind of puzzling. What we started to realize, though, is that the searches that we were doing is very common, right? That we see somebody online, we hear them on a podcast, we see them in a webinar, we look up what's going on. And that's the day that we discovered the shadow sales funnel. Shadow sales funnel is created in the wake of all the traffic that you're sending to your funnel. If 3% of the people who attend a webinar or register for a webinar end up buying, what about the other 97%? And the thing is that many people don't buy because they don't overcome them, whatever it is that you're selling. And so we pointed this out to Russell and a bunch of other folks in the room. I think the day we did that, folks like Alex Hermosi was in the room, Brandon and Kaylin Poulin were in the room, Alex Sharfin, I think, was in the room. And what we shared with them was we showed them, we anonymized the data. We said, okay, here's everybody in this room right now. Here is all of your search volume for not what you do, but who you are. Million searches for your name / product name / course name or whatever it is. And, after we were done with that presentation, half the room came up to us and wanted to know who was who. And what we pointed out to them that day was this key thing. Just because a funnel is the number one way to turn a lead into a customer, right, doesn't mean that a website is not a part of the buying journey. And so Russell, the guy who declared that websites are dead, right, had told everyone, just build a funnel, you don't need a website, suddenly changed his mind and said, well, actually, I could see where whole equation here that we have a funnel, but what all the people that jettison and abandon the funnel, what are they looking for? And what are they finding, more importantly, about that? And that's the short story how we convinced Russell he needed to have us build a website. But really, it's a funnel hub. A funnel hub is what we build in place of a website. A funnel hub is a website, but its primary mission in the world is to show up when somebody's looking for you. And its secondary mission is to take that traffic and direct it back into the funnel where the sale can happen, overcome that doubt and skepticism and get them back into the funnel. And so that was a concept that was the reason why we got to speak about that specifically 2 different times at Funnel Hacking Live. And it's really informed a lot of the funnel building industry, the people understanding, hey, this actually needs to be there. But beyond just having a website, that there's actually strategy behind what gets presented there, so that way we can overcome any of that doubt and skepticism. So that's what a funnel hub, in case folks don't know, because sometimes it can be a little confusing, or like, it's just a website, right? Well, yeah, but a Ferrari's just a car, right? So it's just a car. Right? Funnel hub is just a website. No, it's not. It's a particular kind of website. But AJ, I'll throw it over to you if you want to talk about how that's kind of played into our methodology and what we do and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think we unlocked what we call the trust tipping point, right? When somebody's making a buying decision, there's this moment in time where their desire for something turns into absolute certainty, right? Like they've done enough research. Have you ever been on Amazon and you're searching for something and you're go to the reviews and you start reading some and you're looking for somebody that has a similar case to yours. And once you read it, and he's got the same exact issue and the same exact issue, he said this thing fixed it, and you're practically running up to the buy button, right? And so where the funnel hub fits in is just that, right? When somebody is going through your sales process, whether it's an online or offline sales process, maybe they just saw an ad on Facebook, they're now on this webinar, everything's sounding good, the credit card's starting to come out of their pocket, and then they're like, you know what? I'm just going to go do a search real quick just to make sure this person's legit, right? And they search for your name. And if they're not finding whatever's in their mind, then guess what? The credit card's going back. If they find a site that looks horrible and doesn't lend any credibility, they're going away. If they don't see good reviews or they see a rip-off report or something, that's what we're seeing with a lot of the searches that we were doing, then you're really killing, your ability to close that deal. And so the funnel hub and the shadow sales funnel is really about controlling the sentiment of what people feel when they're going through your sales process, right? And any research that they're doing, that they're going to find something that's going to check off their boxes instead of sending them running, right? And so it's a concept that we teach, not only in the funnel community, but we also have applied it to our local agency as well. Now, we don't call it a funnel hub because when we try to do that, we just got way more questions about what's a funnel and blah. And it's really hard to teach a small business owner all this stuff. So we call it a marketing hub, right? They still get the concept that, hey, you're out there doing marketing, right? And there needs to be this spot where everything lives, that if someone's going to go check you out, they need to know that you're able to do the work that you say you could do. They need to see, social proof of that. They need to feel like this is legit and they aren't going to get ripped off. And if we can check off enough of those boxes, then guess what? We eventually eliminate all skepticism and make our way past that trust tipping point, and that's when the sale occurs. Now, people's trust tipping points all a little bit different, right? Some people are just like abundance based. If they think something sounds good, they pull out their credit card. There's other people that are going to like read every blog post on your site. They're reading every person's bio on your site. They're like really, really digging, right, to make that decision. That just means they have a higher trust tipping point. But if you don't have those things online to support that type of buyer, then in the absence of that, they're just going to feel uncertain and they're not going to buy. And so it's something that we drive home, not only with our small business customers at the agency, but it's something that we're teaching other agency owners to help deliver for their clients as well, because we think it's an easy way to take control over the narrative and the thoughts that people have about your brand online to increase conversion and sales.
Yeah, that's on point 100%. That know, like, and trust factor is definitely crucial for any business and any person when it comes to selling anything, whether you're in person or online. And reviews play a huge factor. And I'm glad that you mentioned those, because not many businesses that I target, they don't have very many reviews, or if the reviews they have, they're years old, never responded to, and it just hurts them
Right.
in the end. In the end there. So you spoke on stage twice. How was that able to help kind of propel your coaching program to the level that it's at now?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose anytime you speak on a stage of 5,000 in front of 5,000 people, not once, not twice, not three times, but we've actually had a chance 4 times to be on stage in various capacities for in the ClickFunnels community. That certainly has kind of elevated our status to the community, and I think it's also been a recognition of the impact that we've been able to make with our tools. So it's really just helped to amplify the awareness of what we're doing and led some credibility. And it's opened up the opportunity for us, as AJ mentioned before, to work directly and partner with Russell on bringing this funnel hub concept into ClickFunnels 2.0, which has been great. So it's had a really positive impact on our coaching business, because there's a lot of agencies that not only want to offer funnel hub to their clients, because it's not only is it a great solution, but it's also a very profitable thing to do. It's all the things that suck about building websites for clients. Like, because you take this approach, it is fixes a lot of them, which I know we don't have time to get all the reasons why. But the point is, a lot of agencies want to offer this, but they also want to figure out how to create and build their agencies around that. So we've had folks jump into our community just learning about not just implementing funnel hubs, but also the whole process of selling them and delivering them as well. And just as a side note, we created a course called Funnel Hub Launchpad, which we did with Russell, and we co-created this course together to teach people about the whole concept. So that's also been a really cool side effect.
Nice. I'd like to back up just one tick, because you're now in this agency coach space where you are essentially helping other agencies in creating courses and a lot of info products around that. You took a chapter out of Dr. Ben Hardy's book, 10X is better than 2X, and you put a key person in place to allow you to do that. How was that transition of hiring an actual CEO for your for AnchorWave helped you in doing what you do now on the info product and coaching side?
Yeah, it's been a massive thing. So the person that we brought into that position, we're really fortunate, because she'd been with our company for quite some time, kind of bit by bit, like fixing and organizing pieces of the business that we needed help with. And she came in as a project coordinator for the web, right? Just helping to manage client projects through building websites, eventually taking over that department, right? And helping us organize all of that. Then she jumped into digital marketing and helping us organize that department. And she kind of became an operations manager of sorts. And it was in 2020, shortly after the whole webinar story I told you, that I was talking with AJ on the phone one day, and I said, I want to sell it. And he's like, what? He's like, we're making good money from this. Why? I'm like, I want to go all in on agency coach. I want to do that. And like, I'm ready for it.
I'm feeling it strongly now, so let's do it. And so he's like, "We'll sell your role. Like, why don't we do this?" And
it was his idea.
To run it. And that's what led to that conversation. And just as a funny side story, when we had the conversation with our CEO, about this over lunch. The name of the restaurant that we went to is called Risky Business, which I just think is always funny. So yeah, it was awesome. We we created.
That's been
amazing.
Oh man, am I losing my? Are you guys there?
Yeah, that's so true. And then we recently just took her to lunch at Risky Business again, and she's like, "What's happening now?" we're like, we want you to take over Agent Coach. Just kidding. But she was super shocked when we brought her in and when we said that. I don't think she was prepared for that at all, but it felt like the right time. I mean, going back to that's during COVID, we everybody was at home. When we were in the office, of course, there were constantly people knocking on our door and had questions and wanted, what do we do with this? How do we do this? And it seemed like when everybody went away, like we weren't getting calls, right? Like they were going to Lily or they were going to Jill on our team. There were other members of our leadership team, and Mike and I weren't really being tapped on very much. And so, that's when we first started thinking like, maybe this is ready for us to kind of step out of it. Like we had taken off all of the hats that were really associated with running it. Like, of course, we were coming up with new stuff to sell or coming up with different campaigns, but it's like, I think we are in a place where this thing's running like a machine, right? And because those processes were in place, we felt super comfortable stepping both feet out and focusing on agency coach, where we knew that we could just have a bigger impact on the world,
So tell me more about agency coach and where you see it evolving in the coming years, because the info product space isn't going away. It's going to turn into a multi-billion-dollar industry in every niche possible. So where do you see your guys' courses and coaching fitting in and all that?
Yeah, it was a couple of years ago. We had a kind of an internal meeting with the agency coach team, and it's funny enough, we kind of had this interesting realization, at least what I did, that I communicated to our team, is that I said, guys, the name of our business is agency coach, not agency course. Right. And up until that point, a lot of our business was around course material and downloadable things that people could either get for free or inexpensive, and various training programs. And the evolution of this business has really been at its core about helping people as one-on-one as we can to get them from where they're at to where they're going. And so our mission and our goal is to help as many businesses as we can create time and financial freedom. And that's really a recipe of having monthly recurring revenue greater than expenses, right? Like when somebody hears like, oh, I have time and financial freedom, that maybe sounds like vague and unclear. Like, what does that even mean, right? Well, pretty simple. Right? If your monthly recurring revenue means the contracted auto bill credit cards that you have with contracts with your clients, if the amount that adds up to is greater than what it costs to pay all your software bills and pay your team members and pay yourself, right? If it's greater than that, then you have a business that has financial freedom, right? And then the question becomes is, what do we do with that financial freedom? Well, and when AJ talked about before the hats, it's taking off the hats and buying back your time and getting and bit by bit extracting yourself from the business, right? too many agency owners have created a business that's just a trap for themselves.
Mhm.
They've created a business with the idea of creating time and financial freedom, but what they've actually done is created themselves a job that they're chained to, and they have all the worst parts of a job and all the worst parts of a business smashed into
Mhm.
this thing they call a digital marketing agency. It's like that is a tough life to live, and if we had the same, if we had didn't have the wherewithal, we would be stuck in that same spot. And so it's our heartfelt desire to reach into that agency space and say, hey guys, here's how you do this, here's how you create it. And so there's a lot of good opportunity for us in helping businesses and agencies not only do that, but get there a lot faster than we did.
Yeah, 100%. I truly believe that small business is the lifeblood of the communities that they operate in, right? And as agency owners, we're in a position where we can help those small businesses win. And at an agency coach level, we get to help. It just keeps going up, right? And there's a
Mhm.
ripple effect that's created. So I know the work that we're doing is helping lots and lots of people. And, it's super rewarding to know that and to feel that and to hear it from our students day in and day out.
So, for the up and coming agency owners or those thinking about, starting freelance marketing, what advice would you give them? And if they find that it's too difficult to do on their own, what is your core um, win in joining your program?
Yeah, I think there's a couple different phases, right? Because there's the people who want to do this and they're thinking about launching an agency, right? And that's going to be slightly different from the people who are maybe already going 35 40 miles an hour down the road, and they're trying to get to 60 and get a little bit further.
Mhm.
Addressing the second group first, so the folks that are already moving along and are already have some momentum happening, but they're just like struggling with some of the things we talked about today, like feast or famine. They feel like they're always order taking, like that they just like they can't charge enough. The biggest opportunity that folks have there is to reach back into your existing group of clients and figure out how you can ascend them into recurring revenue. Most businesses come to us, most agencies come to us asking for leads. They need more opportunities. They need more people to sell to, but it's really, we find not true that your biggest source of opportunities is probably the people you're already doing business with. They say it's 6 times easier to sell to someone that already knows you than someone that doesn't know you at all. You want to know
Mhm.
why AJ and I are like best buds and business partners now? Because by accident, not by any like foresight of my own, I kind of knew that. And I asked him to come in as a web strategist and said, AJ, come in, call our existing clients, tell them we've been thinking about them, ask them if there's anything new going on in their business, and invite them in to see if we can help them with some more stuff. Right. And that turned into new business. Right. So the business that's going from, they say that what got you here won't get you there. And I think there's a lot of agencies that have had some momentum and they're trying to do the thing that they've been doing the whole time, which has been, just hustling to get new business in the door, forgetting about this massive asset, either in existing clients or an email list that they've built up and not adequately marketing. So that's probably our favorite group of people to work with is, someone who's struggling right now, but has had some momentum because it's just dripping a little bit of fairy dust on that piece of the business where we see things just catapult, right? They're struggling before and now they just closed a $30,000 contract. They're struggling before and now they're bringing in enough revenue to start handing off the business and hand off aspects of the business to a team member that they might want to help with, right? And so that's probably the biggest area. The business, that's the agency that's just starting out. I mean, gosh, some of the stuff we do in our programs, I wish I would have had that kind of shortcut starting out. Simply because it's so much easier to not have the bad habits at the
Mhm.
beginning compared to the bad habits that get developed out of stress, anxiety of creating a business that has to succeed in order for you to quit your job or something like that.
Yeah. I would say even though I'm a couple years into that, still kind of on that border cusp of the first to second. I've had some clients, come in and leave. Just going now on an anniversary of one of my clients out in California that I'm doing something very, very, very small for. That really takes none of my
Mhm.
time at all. I just picked up another very small one for a very tiny website, just to try to help him out. I don't know if I can help him based on what he has to invest, but I'm going to give it my all just so I can get a case study, so I can get those bigger fish. So I've appreciated everything you guys have done, from the Facebook group itself to the the info products that you have that I have been able to afford, and eventually I'll get up there to that business coach level, because I know I need it. It's just when the opportunity is there to afford it is there, because you got to be smart about the money. And that's one thing that I can say about my journey is, if I would have known everything I know now, I would have spent my initial seed funding totally different. When it comes to building a business, I would have not bought all the tech up front. I would have just hired the coach that told me what to do, how to do it, when to do it, and then gone from there. So if I could give any piece of advice, my piece of advice is don't buy the tech. Go find a client first, and then buy help to get it fulfilled after the fact. So we were discussing. Yep, go ahead.
It's the focus on recurring revenue. Like, if you want to simplify everything we just said, it's focus on that. Like, have you ever looked at your bank statement and you saw, like, how did I spend that much money? And then you go look at each individual line, and you're like, there's no way that adds up to that. Well, sure enough, like, the bank's not dumb. Like, their computers added up correctly, right? We've all been there. Right?
Every month.
But the cool thing about recurring revenue is it works the opposite way as well. That it doesn't take a lot of clients, and it doesn't take a lot of clients paying a lot of money for it to make a significant and meaningful impact in your business. You have a client paying a couple $100 a month here, another client paying $1,000 a month there, and then this one's paying another couple $100 a month there, and then this one's paying $2,500 a month. It starts to add up, and before you know it, like, you've got some legitimate recurring revenue. And like, just like that feeling of the bank statement, like, how does it add up to that? It'll feel the opposite. You're like, how did it add up to that? That's amazing. And so monthly recurring revenue, and every sale and everything that you're focusing on, building and building and building and building and retaining and retaining and retaining. That's the key from a business who's just starting out. And in fact, I think it's almost easier for a new business, because there's maybe not the demands on their revenue to make it happen. If you have an existing job or something else that you're trying to leave, like, that's your recurring revenue there, right? And all we got to do is build your agency recurring revenue up to the point where you're making the same, or at least, as your business. And then you can jettison the full-time job, and then you can continue to stack that up, and suddenly now you're in control of your own destiny. And that's all because of recurring revenue.
Yeah. And there's one thing that I can tag to that is, as you're building this, and what I've learned, because I initially got into this whole digital thing just to be an affiliate marketer, right? But as I was learning this thing that you needed to learn to market, I was like, why not just do it for other people and make more money and multiply it than just trying to sell one product? You can sell that one product to a bunch of people and then tie it into another service. So something to consider as well. So we were talking before we were getting on that you actually had a gift for those that made it this far into the episode and want to learn more about Agency Coach. And what do you have for them?
Awesome. Well, if you head over to agencycoach.com/bizgrowth, what we've done is we put together what we call our digital agency momentum kit, which has basically like a bunch of shortcuts, proposals, and a lot of really cool things that is going to help an agency go from, if you're going 0 miles per hour, this is going to help you go like 10, 15, 20 miles an hour. To your listeners, and hope you guys really like it. It's some of our really
Awesome. Well, we appreciate that. All that information will be in the show notes in the description below, with all the links to everything we've talked about today. If you want to learn more about Mike, AJ, and Agency Coach, where can they find you at online?
You can head over to agencycoach.com. You can also follow me at Mr. Mike Schmidt on Instagram, and recently on TikTok. So I'm going through a 30-day. I have to go on there every day for 30 days. And if I miss a day, I got to eat a can of dog food. So you're not going to see me do that. So be sure to check out at.
Awesome. We'll be sure to check out all those socials and your 30-day journey on TikTok. Mike, AJ, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for coming on to the Business Growth Accelerator. I hope to have you on again if anything else new pops up in your world and you want to get it out there. I hope you've enjoyed yourself, and here's to everybody's success in 2024.
Heck yeah,
Awesome.
man.
Thanks,
Thanks so
Brandon.
much for having us. Super fun. We'll catch you.